In this video, we're going to have a look at how to determine trig ratios with your calculator. If we have a look at these two triangles and we want to determine the tan ratio from angle A's perspective for the big triangle ADE, we will say that the opposite side is 10 and the adjacent side is 10 as well. So the simplified ratio is 1/1. Similarly, if we want to determine the tan ratio for the smaller triangle ABC, the opposite side will be 4 and so will the adjacent side. So again, the simplified ratio is 1. This ratio stayed constant because the angle stayed constant, and that is why we know that the tan ratio from a 45-degree angle will always be a simplified ratio of 1. Similar to this, for any reference angle, there is a specific sin, cos, and tan ratio. All these different ratios are already programmed on your calculator, and that is why when you now press tan 45 on your calculator, you will immediately get the ratio of 1 without needing a specific triangle. Now we're going to have a better look at how you can use your calculator to determine all these different trig ratios. Example 1. Using your calculator, determine each of the following and where necessary, round to 2 decimal places. Before you start, always check that your calculator is set on degrees, because angles can be measured in degrees as well as radians, and for school maths we use degrees. So make sure that the window on your calculator displays a D for degrees. Then you will see that all three of the trig ratios are buttons on your calculator. So for number 1, we need to determine the sin ratio, and then you will see that automatically a bracket appears. And now inside the bracket we need to put the angle, which in this case is 30 degrees, then close the bracket, and when you now press equal, the sine ratio for a 30-degree angle is 1/2. Next we need to determine 5 times the cos ratio from a 40-degree angle. So we start with 5 times cos, and once again our bracket for our angle of 40 degrees, and then we close the bracket and press equal. So our answer rounded to 2 decimals will be 3,83. In number 3, we now need to determine a third of the tan ratio of a 36-degree angle. So for the third, I use my fraction button, then I press 1 and I move down to enter the 3, and then I move next to it to multiply it with tan of the 36-degree angle, and when I close the bracket and say equal, I have the answer of 0,24. If we have a look at question 4, we are asked to determine sin 78 and then square that. Although in the way it is written, it looks like we only need to square sin, the sin ratio does not exist on its own. It only exists once it is connected to a specific angle. So when you do this on your calculator, you start with sin of 78, get an answer, and then you take that answer and you square the answer to get to your final value of 0,96. Calculator, however, also understands if you say sin of 78 and then square that immediately. You will see that you also get the answer of 0,96. In question 5, we need to get the cos ratio of the sum of two angles. So we say cos, and in the bracket we have 25 plus the 33, and then we close the bracket and press equal to get the answer of 0,53. Example 2. If it is given that A is 74 degrees and B 50 degrees, determine the following. In the first question, we need to get the sum of two ratios. So we start off with our sin ratio, and this will be sin of 74 degrees. And now it is very important to close the bracket before you add the cos ratio. So we plus cos, and b is 50 degrees. And then we close the bracket and press equal to get our answer of 1,6. In question 2, we now need to subtract two angles. So we start with tan, and then the bracket is immediately there. Now we take A, which is 74, and we need to subtract B, and B is 50 degrees. Now you close the bracket, and this will give us an answer of 0,45. Please remember that calculators don't all work the same way. So you need to ensure that you understand your calculator and know when you, for example, need to put in extra brackets and when not.